Please, they're trying to kill me. Help me.
Sir, I am on my break. Come back in 5 minutes. Run, run.
Do not be deceived by my surroundings. This isn't just the financial district of New York City. This is the world of John Wick. Behind me, the exterior where they shot the Continental, a hotel home to the world's most dangerous assassins. It's a surprising setting for an action franchise. Then again, everything about the film John Wick was a surprise. Shot for just a reported $20 million by Chad Stahelski and David Leitch, two first-time filmmakers whose biggest claim to fame was as Keanu's stunt doubles on The Matrix, John Wick sounded like a collection of tired cliches. A retired hitman, a dead wife, a tale of revenge. But this was different. The film was a sleeper hit, and a new film icon was born. One of the smartest things the first John Wick did was make use of both familiar and unique New York locations in ways we'd never seen before. Let's go to the map. In the first film, John's story zigzags around the city. The first big action set piece is at the Red Circle Club. Exteriors were shot at Surrogate's Courthouse in Lower Manhattan. The climax, where John barely stumbles away, was shot at the Brooklyn Navy Yard. But if there's one iconic location in the series, it can be found at 1 Wall Street Court, also known as the Beaver Building. That's the home to the Continental, where John often finds refuge and sometimes conflict. In the films, the Continental is also home to the stern but dependable concierge Charon, played by Lance Reddick. And this is where I'm meeting up with the man himself, suited up in my John Wick best. So you shot only one day on the first John Wick.
Yes.
But it's an important moment. You have to introduce
shot all day long, all my stuff. Yeah.
all your stuff with Keanu, one-on-one. Keanu's quite a presence.
Yes, he is.
Charon has to be quite a presence. How do you match that? How do you go toe-to-toe with Keanu?
Well, my very first scene that I ever shot with Keanu was actually the first time that you see Charon in the film. So it's the first time that Charon actually interacts with Keanu.
Right.
It was when he comes into the first time he comes into the Continental. He comes into the front door and he walks toward the front desk and he stops about halfway down the hall and he just stared at me. And I know it's physically impossible, but I could have sworn his eyes turned black and I got this sense, it felt like he looked through me. And it actually pulled me out of it for a second because it was chilling.
Right.
And then I had to, go back into Charon and, yeah.
Let's talk about the Continental. Why is it that people are obsessed with that location? It's more than a location, it's a character in these films.
It is the best hotel in the world for the most dangerous assassins in the world. It's just like, who wouldn't want to see that?
Right. It's like something you couldn't even imagine wanting to see, but once you see it, you're like, I have to see more of it.
Exactly. If somebody just told me that, we're going to do a thing about a 5-star hotel for assassins, I'm like, really? Well, I guess it's original, so that's different.
Once you watch it, though.
Yeah.
How surreal is it to be a part of this beloved franchise?
That's actually the word. When I think about it a lot, when I'm not too busy, it's surreal. When I signed on to do the first film, I just never expected it to turn into this kind of a juggernaut. Do you know what I mean?
Right. I snuck a peek at what I think was the original script. Your character doesn't even have a name in that original script.
No, my character didn't have a name in the original script. Yeah.
So what arrived in your email box or on your desk, and what was it? What was it described as?
It was described as the concierge. The script was so tight, and the characters were so interesting, and the world of the Continental was so interesting. And it's a kind of character that I never get to play because I've played, especially since The Wire, I've played so many characters that are authority figures that talk a lot.
Yeah.
So to play this kind of quintessential gentleman's gentleman was just really intriguing to me, and that he's African. Yeah.
Where did the voice come from? Where did the accent choice come from?
So it said in the script, in the stage directions, it just said African.
Yeah.
And I missed it when I read the script. And then when I went back and started looking at the role, I called my agent. I said, well, it says African. Do they? And so they checked with the casting and they said, no, don't worry, you don't have to do an African accent. And I thought about it. I said, well, no, I think I want to do that.
Let me act. Let me do something.
And I looked at, I tried South African and it just didn't feel right. And then I tried Kenya and I felt like that feels right.
How am I doing, Charon? Is this episode going well so far?
At the moment, it is going very well. However, don't talk too much because I may have to leave.
Don't do that. Let's walk.
Okay.
Talk to me about shooting down here. It is a loud, bustling area. This is as loud as it gets, I think, in New York. There's traffic, there's foot traffic, there's cars. Is it difficult to shoot a John Wick film in New York City?
Well, it's funny because this particular location, I only shot at night. Video Village was right up against this building.
Okay.
And that is the entrance to the Continental.
Right.
And there were a lot of rats. I remember every time I would come from my trailer across the street in the middle of the night, I'd see some rats running. So there's a lot of rats.
That New York color. That's that beautiful. You can't buy that kind of set dressing.
Yeah. I think for locations, it's a real challenge trying to make sure that, especially during the day, trying to make sure that it gets locked down so the people aren't coming to the shot and sound doesn't bother. Yeah.
Yeah, because every New Yorker has important stuff to do. Don't get in my way.
Exactly.
Right?
It's because in LA, it's more people want to stop and watch. In New York, it's like,
just get out of my way. Come on.
I don't care who's Chicago Berry. I don't care, man. I got an appointment. I got to go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Let's be one of those people. Let's walk.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you remember the point where you realized that John Wick was going to be more than just like a small cult movie? That it was going to become this kind of phenomenon? Could you tell?
It wasn't until the second movie came out that I realized, oh my gosh, this is like a thing. Like this is a yeah.
And it's rare for a franchise to grow in terms of box office. The reviews keep getting better in each one. It's like it's at its height right now.
Yeah.
After John Wick 1, which becomes this cult hit, the sequel's greenlit. Were you relieved, excited when you heard that you were going to be a part of it? Because you never know.
My first thought, being an egotistical actor was, well, man, I want to do more. I'm not sure I want to do this. Right. And my agent's like, Lance, no, you have to do this. And I remember my first day on the set of John Wick 2 was actually my last scene in the film, which is when I drop off Keanu to meet with Ian McShane in Central Park.
Yeah.
And Chad Stahelski, the director, he says to me, Lance, how you doing? I says, great. I wish I had more to do. Right. And he said, don't worry, the third one, I'm telling you, you'll have more to do in the third one. And, in my head, I'm thinking, the third one, man, you haven't even shot the second one yet.
Right.
Well,
all worked out. They delivered.
Sure, he sure did.
We're going to take a trip to Central Park, but before that, I want to take a look at where they shot John Wick 2 and John Wick 3. John Wick Chapter 2 once again took us all over New York, but it begins in an unlikely place. Downtown Montreal doubled for New York in part of the opening car chase, but that wasn't the most exotic locale. John travels all the way to Rome for a memorable fight on the stairs of Scalinata de Borgia. For John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum, the series' scope expanded again with a visit to Morocco, where Keanu walked the desert with Halle Berry. Back in New York, John kicked ass in Times Square, the New York Public Library, Grand Central Terminal, Chinatown, and even took up a little horseback riding in Brooklyn. There's one other important location for John that recurs throughout the series, Central Park. This is where assassins have been eliminated, and John has been chased, and chased, and chased again. So after nearly 2 films, by the end of John Wick 2, finally Charon is let out of the Continental. You finally escape. Yeah. And here we are, where you made it, Central Park. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
What do you remember about shooting your scene at the end of John Wick 2 with Keanu here?
It was very cold. It was the first time I actually met Ian McShane.
Oh, really? Not till that?
Yeah. And I freaked out because I'm a fan. So I remember, it wasn't so much what I said, it was my behavior. So he said, hey, good to meet you. And I was like, I'm such a big fan. Thank. And he gives me this look like, are you apoplectic? What's wrong with you? I'm just, hi.
Very un-Charon, man.
It was just like, just check me, And then I realized, okay, you're being weird, and it's to stop. And then, then I walked away, and then that was it. And then I didn't see him again until we worked together on the third film.
And then you played it cool again? Then you...
it was more professional.
When I think of the John Wick films, I think of New York. It really does utilize New York in ways that no other action movie I can think of ever has. Just as a fan, is there a sequence and a location, even outside of the stuff that Charon's in, that you really enjoy seeing in the John Wick films?
Probably the motorcycle chase sequence on the Manhattan Bridge.
John Wick 3.
John Wick 3, yeah. With the swords and the gun, and he kicks a guy, and he takes the sword, and he chops the other guy, and he shoots a guy in the head while the guy's got the sword. Yeah, and takes the sword and sticks it in the guy's tire, and he flips over. Yeah.
I want to see the Lance Reddick one-man show. You just performed it for me.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I was singing in my head. I was telling you, and I'm remembering it. So
it's amazing.
Yeah.
as far as on-set locations for a film, you can do worse than Bethesda Fountain in Central Park.
That's true.
And this place actually plays an integral role to these films. I think of the end of John Wick 1 when an assassin's taken out. I think of the end of John Wick 2 where you're very much involved. You drop off John Wick. And it really leads right into John Wick 3.
John Wick 3, yeah.
This is an important part of the universe, isn't it?
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about, speaking of John Wick 3, we finally get to see Charon in action.
Sir, put your weapon down.
How exciting was that for you?
Like John Wick 2, they asked me to do it before I saw a script. So before I
A lot of faith in these films.
it was well, you got a call to do gun training for John Wick 3. I was like, gun training?
Okay.
So can I see a script? All I knew is that I was being sent for gun training. So the fact that I was actually going to get in on the action was really exciting for me.
We've talked about the importance of locations to these films. Obviously, the stunt work's amazing, the gun work, Keanu. There's so many elements that make John Wick work. One of the things I think that also makes John Wick work is this weird kind of like analog world that's created, right? It's not the digital world. It's about coins and markers. Have you tried to use any of your coins from John Wick for goods and services in real life? Have you tried to go into like a coffee shop and been like, could I get a grande iced coffee?
Yeah.
Does that work?
Oh no. But I mean, I actually tried to. I had a bunch of them, and I was short on cash, so and I didn't have my cash card, so I went into the bank and tried to use it, and they were like, "This isn't real."
What?
Yeah.
How rude.
Yeah, I got out of there before they called security, so that was good.
What's your greatest dream for John Wick 4, 5, and 6? What do you want to see? Chad Stahelski's listening. What's the dream?
I'm not sure about 5 and 6. Let's just get through
one at
4
a time?
first. Yeah. I mean, we'll all be in walkers, you know. But the fourth one, I'd like to live.
Man,
No. But,
come on.
No, but when I say that, I mean, I have a feeling, as much action as I got to do in the third one, I have a feeling I may do even more in the fourth. And it's just one of those things where the more action you do in a John Wick movie, if you're not John Wick...
More jeopardy.
Yeah.
Okay, well, watch your back, man. We're always rooting for you.
Okay.
Thanks for showing me around the set of John Wick, a.k.a. New York City.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, it's my town.